And for anyone who knows cold weather, they know that cold and batteries tend to not mix very well.
Right.
Water and batteries, electricity, tend to not mix very well. Yeah, you got to ask yourself when your phone is dying. You got to ask yourself when your inReach is dying and you really, really need to use it, how much is it worth then?
All right, what is up, everybody? Mark on the mic here, podcasting live, at least live for us, Garrett, who across from me I have Mr. Garrett Aida from the company Dark Energy. We're at the Western Hunting Conservation Expo, Garrett. I think this is actually where we met many years ago.
I think so.
So it's kind of like our annual. We always see each other. We've talked about podcasting before and finally put it together here. But, man, I think I've been using your products since we met. And they've worked famously, by the way. I think you know that.
I love to hear that. That's what they're here for, right? We build things that are supposed to be tough, lightweight, waterproof. Whatever you're going to go through, it needs to go like step by step, be able to go through the rough and tumble of backcountry hunting, camping, biking, backpacking, you name it, right?
Absolutely. So before we get too deep in the weeds, why don't, Garrett, like maybe a little bit about yourself?
Yeah.
And then also like Dark Energy, the company. What was the impetus for the idea that sparked like, hey man, I think there's a fit for these type of products. I think we can build these type of products, and a little bit about what the products are and what they're for.
Absolutely, yeah. So my name's Garrett Aida, CEO and founder of a company called Dark Energy, and we make rugged power products for outdoor and military use. So the idea for Dark Energy came actually when I was bow hunting. I was in the Tushers, and every day I'd get up and I'd hike up maybe about an hour to get into position, and every day I'd have sun, I'd have rain, I'd have sometimes a little bit of snow, and my gear was getting wet. I was kind of sliding all over the place. I'm like beating my gear up, and my phone was dying. I had radios. I also had a GPS. I didn't really need it too much because I kind of knew the area pretty well, but I had all this tech on me that was getting super soaked that I was always worried about. It was cold, and I was beating the tar out of my electronics, and that's where the idea was. I was like, man, okay, I need to stay charged, but I need something that's going to be waterproof, because I'm getting rained on and snowed on every day, and it really needs to be super tough. And from that simple idea, I was like, okay, well, why don't myself, a product developer who has a degree in mechanical engineering, I'll just make this myself, because it didn't exist in the world just yet, and it was bred out of that simple idea. I was like, why don't I make this? And so that's where the Poseidon was born, right?
Yeah.
IP68 waterproof. It's lightweight, it's compact. You could drop this and you could drive a truck over it and yet still function. And yet, like, for something as durable, it's still really lightweight.
Yeah.
And it's great in the cold. You can freeze it in a block of ice. It'll hold charge for over, this battery will hold charge for up to 10 years.
Unbelievable.
Up to 10 years, exactly. And so that's basically what it would take for you to drain one of these batteries once they're fully charged. And so Dark Energy became this, I just want to have power that's super reliable, whether it's cold, hot, wherever you go, high altitude, and I just wanted to charge all of my tech that I happen to have with me when I'm out doing backcountry activities like hunting or skiing or flying, whatever it may be.
I mean, that's absolutely awesome, and I mean, it really just shows like as hunting has evolved, progressed, I mean, we are bringing more tech into the field, every year, right? And what do they have in common? At least right now, they're all running off batteries. I don't know if you know this, Garrett, but a lot of things run off batteries these days.
Yeah.
And like you said, you need to be able to recharge them. The original Poseidon is what I'd been using for a long time, and then now you have the Pro version. But just an incredible piece of kit and an instrumental piece of kit that you just, like you said, you have so many things that run on power these days. I also feel like
right.
over time, we with the advancements in cell phones, like we've streamlined some of the tech that we take into the field. Like, for all intents and purposes, like it's like, yeah, okay. Like for most people, like my phone is my phone, so I have comms. If I have reception, I can run my inReach off it. Connectivity there. It's also my GPS. It's my camera. I'm using it a lot, right? So I'm draining that battery. I like to run tracks a lot, right?
Yeah.
On my phone.
Onyx. I'm sure like a ton of others also use Onyx maps.
So
like
I mean,
myself,
I can drain my phone like nearly completely, like every day.
Oh
right?
yeah, easily.
So I need to be able
probably twice over. Exactly. Yeah.
So again, like just the importance. It's like, number one. Sometimes I think, man, I better not lose my phone. But yeah, man, the importance of being able to stay charged. In the backcountry or whatever activity you are in the field where you don't have access to just plugins at your disposal. I mean, it's a big deal. It's a really big deal. I mean, it really could be the difference between life and death, even.
It is, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And you want to be in a scenario where you're always in control of things happening and your navigation, communication, etc. And having reliable power is the thing that dictates whether you could be in a safe situation or something where your life's on the line. And maybe not so much for a lot of people out here, they understand the outdoors and how to handle themselves, but there's definitely a younger generation. We have families, kids, and whatnot, and we need to take into account taking care of them as well. And so having that extra power that's going to be reliable, especially in cold, is a big deal. We're here in Utah, right? And for anyone who knows cold weather, they know that cold and batteries tend to not mix very well.
Right.
Water and batteries, electricity, tend to not mix very well. That's why Dark Energy's products are built upon this idea of being ultra waterproof. That's what IP68 is. I'm not sure if everyone fully understands that.
I appreciate you going into that because, like, I paused there. I'm like, well, it sounds cool.
Let me dive into what IP68 means.
Yeah.
IP68 waterproof means ingress protection.
Okay.
Ingress, so from entering inside, right?
Okay.
Ingress protection, 6.8. And 6 is the number that's dedicated towards solids. And 8 is the number that's dedicated towards liquids. Okay? 6, it's 0 to 6 and 0 to 8. So 6.8 is the highest level in that standard.
Oh, okay.
All right? And it's basically, as you get closer to 6, that's like dust-sized particles. And 8 means basically submerged, fully underwater, past 1 meter for longer than 30 minutes. Okay?
Gotcha.
So basically, you can take this device and fully submerge it in water, essentially. That's what that means. And so, which is, that's basically what you really want, okay?
Well, and I can tell you, from a practicality standpoint, for me, at least personally, if it goes more than 1 meter for more than 30 minutes, it means that she gone.
Yeah, exactly. I can't tell you how many stories we've had guys who have been up in like the Yukon or something, and they're rafting down a river with an animal that they've just taken, and boat flips, all the gear just gets like sprayed out into the river.
Oh my gosh.
And a lot of people have lost things, but I've had a couple stories where people have found these in the river after a boat has flipped over, right? So it's gone through the river, gotten stuck in a bank, gotten pulled out, and so they found this random ass battery, right? And it was fully functioning after, getting tossed and going through a river.
That is crazy.
And that's what it's supposed to do, though, right? That's the level of durability that you want from a reliable battery that's waterproof, right?
Exactly. Well, when you talk about cold, batteries don't like cold, batteries don't like wet. Well, what are we encountering in the field? Oftentimes cold and wet.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. And the batteries of Dark Energy, they also use a lithium iron phosphate.
Okay.
Lithium iron phosphate is one chemistry of many chemistries in these lithium ion battery families, all right? So it's one of them, iron phosphate. And lithium iron phosphate is one of the best chemistries for cold weather exposure, all right? And so, and even within lithium iron phosphate, you have little different breakdowns of the chemistry as well. And so Dark Energy selects battery cell chemistries that are specifically tuned for cold weather application.
Gotcha.
So that when you're out in the field and it's cold out, this battery is going to survive and perform well for you a hell of a lot longer than other more traditionally known as cheaper batteries.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, oh, Dark Energy's batteries, they seem overpriced or whatever. They're, because I can go to Amazon and buy something for $20. Why would I buy this? Well, you buy it because this battery is more reliable in these adverse weather scenarios than that cheap battery. That's the difference.
Well, and I think, it's easy to make a concession based on price when you're in your living room. But I always like to ask myself, how important is this item to me? And how much would I pay for it to be working when I'm on the mountain? Right now, if I had the choice between a battery that was going to fail on me or a battery that was, I'm like, oh yeah, I'd pay a heck of a lot more than what it cost me originally just to get the right one.
Right. Yeah, you got to ask yourself when your phone is dying. You got to ask yourself when your inReach is dying and you really, really need to use it, how much is it worth then to have reliable power, to be able to charge that, to make that call, to look at your maps? I mean, right? To know where you are.
I'm getting nervous thinking about not having that ability.
I know.
Because I think we've all been there at some time where you're like, for whatever circumstance, you're back there, boom, the phone's going down. It's about to, maybe you've got an animal down. It's getting dark, and you're just like, cripes.
Right. Exactly.
To put it mildly.
And that's why Dark Energy was made.
Yeah.
For that exact moment. And I was just too tired of either having I've had so many prior to Dark Energy, so many simple off the shelf, whatever I could grab batteries that I'd take with me, like the Tusher Mountain in Utah, like that hunt right there. I didn't finish that story, but I grabbed a bunch of simple batteries and I threw them in my pack. My pack gets soaked, right, because I'm stalking through the day. It's raining off and on. My whole pack gets soaked. I'm soaked to the bone, and water went into my batteries and just shorted them. Right? I was like, you got to be kidding me. This is such an avoidable problem. Why doesn't somebody just fix this by making the batteries waterproof? This is crazy. And so, that's one of the cornerstones of why Dark Energy was born.
It makes 100% sense. And I'm glad you went into a little bit of the, the science, if you will, on, what differentiates, battery A from battery B. Is there any other, cool stuff going on with batteries that people know about, or, practical or maybe even impractical information?
Yeah, well, absolutely. Let's see.
How deep does the battery rabbit hole go?
I'll tell you what, that all batteries are not created equal, mm-hmm. especially in their storage capabilities.
Okay.
All right. And when I say storage, I mean when you charge one up and you leave it, in your bag, in your go bag at home, whatever it may, wherever you leave it, how it sits in standby varies wildly from battery to battery.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Which is another reason why the price can vary. So there's a few key points of performance that vary wildly in terms of quality in the battery world.
Okay.
And one of them is people will notice, I bought battery A and I went to go back to use it a few weeks later and it was fully drained. And yet I used battery B. It was fully charged. A few weeks later I go to use it. Oh, it's still fully charged. I go to use it a year later. It's still fully charged. We don't really have people that don't use the batteries more often than a year. Right. But if you went back 5 years later, it would still be charged. And so that is the mark of a really good battery. You charge it up, and it holds that charge. It's there in the amount of power that you expect. It's going to have that when you go to use it. It's reliable.
Are there things that a person could or should be doing to maintain battery health? Like, is it good to charge your battery, run it down, and recharge it? Does that extend life? Does that take away from the life of battery? What's going on there?
Yeah.
Like, I think like a car battery. Like, if you let a car battery sit forever, like,
that's a good point.
Not a good idea.
That's a super good point. Okay, and so what we're talking about is memory effect. Okay, now in lead acid batteries in vehicles, those do have memory effect, and so you want to run those all the way down and run it all the way back, never stopping partially, because memory effect will occur and it will limit the overall capacity that you can pull from the battery.
Okay.
Lithium-ion cells, they do not have memory effect.
Okay.
Okay? It's one of the luxuries. However, there's still certain types of charging and storage recommendations that I would give people.
Okay.
All right? And so to be the most gentle on a battery, you want to charge it to maybe 30, 40%. If you know you're going to leave it for a long time, which I don't see many people doing this.
Right. Like you did bring up an interesting situation, which does make sense. Like you got a go bag, you know, you're like, maybe you got some emergency kit in there. Maybe you got, you got your short barreled rifle, you got some mags, you got some other things, and you want to be able to charge, your comms or whatever. That might be something that you don't look at for a while because it's left in that kit and that's where it stays until you might need it. Hopefully, maybe don't need it.
Right. Let it be known, I fully recommend for anyone in an emergency type scenario, charge it up 100%, leave it in there, okay?
Mm-hmm.
That is my recommendation for the record.
For that application.
Right.
Yeah.
For something that's come up with the military and other militaries around the world is they know they're going to hold these in storage for a while, okay?
Okay.
In those scenarios, and then prior to a mission, they have time where they can top up. If you are going to leave a battery for a long period of time unattended, charge it to 30, 40%, leave it there, and that's what I want for long-term storage, okay?
Okay.
If you're in an emergency, for a go bag, top that thing to 100%, leave it. It's going to be there when you need it. That's the purpose of it. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter how rough on the battery it is. Your life is more important than this battery, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And so have the power ready. It'll be fine. But if you want the ultimate, easiest impact on the battery for long-term use, then 30, 40%, okay? Now, so what we'll say is charge it to 30, 40% prior to a mission, topped up to 100, and then, go out on the mission with 100%, obviously.
What's going on there that is a little bit better for the battery health then by just not, gassing it up all the way?
There's a couple ways to look at this. Is it a little bit more impactful on the battery to take it to 100%? It is. Is it, quote, rougher? It's a little bit rougher, yes. But these batteries are designed to cycle thousands of times. Okay? With no memory effect. And so, we're kind of splitting hairs here a little bit.
Right.
We're totally splitting hairs. That's why, from my perspective, unless you are... No, for honestly, any civilian type use, charge up to 100, have it ready when you need it. It's supposed to hold. These things are designed very, very meticulously. And so when I say, it might be a little bit of a for anyone, charge up to 100%, you're ready to rock, okay?
I can tell you this. I've been using them for a long time now. And yeah, man, I'm all gas, no brakes, like, you know what I mean? And I think, when you're talking about like just, the build, the durability, the waterproofness, like these things are they're designed to be tough. Like you don't necessarily, like you said, you're splitting hairs, it's like, okay, technically, yes.
Yes,
but
my engineering brain's coming in a little bit strong there. But, yeah. In reality, the great thing about these batteries is that they're just so tough. They're so easy to use. Whatever you need, like however you want to use it, it's going to handle it just fine, okay? And you're going to cycle this thing 1,000 times before you start to see any diminishing capacity.
Nice.
So, which is a lot, you know what I mean?
Another question I had. Okay, you're charging it up. Whatever. I'll make up a scenario.
Okay.
I've got it charged up. It's at 90%. I want it to be at 100, and then I go and I do something for whatever length of time, and it sits and it reaches 100%, but it stays on the charger. Is that something a person wants to avoid, or it doesn't matter?
Doesn't matter.
Okay.
Doesn't matter. Yeah, there are safety protocols that are built into the device, and so if it's sitting on a charging, like it's charging up at home or something like that, it can just sit like that in perpetuity. That's totally fine.
That's good. I'm glad to hear that because I've done that before. Where you're like, oh, I charged it, and then like, oh, cripes, I forgot. Like, how long have I been just like kind of like at that 100 point where like I feel like, am I like inputting power into a system that like so I'm glad to hear that.
I mean, it's totally safe. I mean, it might be pulling a little bit of power from your grid.
No.
But it's such an infinitesimally small amount.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's totally safe. I mean, you know what big questions probably guys would have is, hey, how much power is this? And how many days would this supply me on the mountain? How many days would this supply me? And what's the usage of, the solar panel, things like that.
Yep.
Probably good questions to answer.
100%. Yeah. Like, with this guy here, we've been talking about it a lot. Like, how many times, I think the phone's a good example. We use it for a lot of things. Like, theoretically, you got it charged up. How many times are you going to be able to power your phone off before this thing's, just out of juice?
Right. You charge up one of these, it's going to charge my so this is a iPhone 15 Pro Max.
Okay.
So most recent and largest phone. I get around 2.5 charges off one charge of this.
Okay.
And so the phone batteries are also getting a little bit bigger over time.
Okay,
and
right.
So as you get newer phones, we tend to see the batteries, where once I had 3 charges for one of this, now I have 2.5 for one charge of this.
And I guess like the net is it's not necessarily like, oh, I've got less power now. It's just your battery is bigger and more efficient then, yes, on your phone or not?
You know what? The batteries in phones tend to be getting larger, right? The phones are more efficient, but how people are using their phones now varies very wildly. And so if you're running a phone full brightness on X Maps or similar, that obviously means you're pinging GPS constantly.
Right.
And maybe you're texting. That's a lot of, power-hungry processes.
Uh-huh.
I could drain my phone fully twice in one day using all of those processes, okay? Well, actually, with the 15, it's probably a little bit better.
Okay.
It's probably a little bit better. So maybe you probably drain a phone once and have probably charge it up 30% too. So anyway, in that scenario, that is exactly why Poseidon Nano was made.
Okay.
To be a day finisher, right? Okay. If you want multiple charges, you're going to go to a Poseidon Pro. Okay? And so, yeah, this device right here, this is a little lambskin strap. I just pulled this one out of a box. So, yeah, looks like so. And that is a button right there. That's a battery indicator. And on the other side is a MagSafe magnetic ring that will automatically align to phones. well, to iPhones. Unless you have an adapter, it'll also attach to Android phones, because most modern phones now have wireless charging built into them. And so, anyway, I hit that button right there. Let's slap that bad boy onto the back of my phone. This large circle is my phone's battery, and that's the Poseidon Nano's battery. Gotcha. And so this guy right here, this is perfect for that scenario where I want to have minimal weight carried, and I want to have just the amount of power to finish my day. This is the perfect solution, okay? It fits in like super handily in any little pocket. I can slam that right into my chest pocket, whip it out just when I need it. And then right here, I can use that just like so.
Oh, that little loop there.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
And so, yeah, because it gives you that little bit of security.
Right.
It comes off quickly if needed, and yet is one cohesive unit. So when I'm using my maps, communicating, taking photos or whatever, it's all right, nice and handy right there. Feels great in the hand.
Well, it's nice to, like, you know, I mean, the cord isn't like that big of a hindrance, but, you know, you lose the cord, so you don't have that leash, or you're not, like, you know, contending with that even if you just put the whole system in your pocket. Like, you could put that in your pocket together and it's still going to be charging, yeah?
Right, exactly. Yeah, it's extremely convenient and, yeah, cord-free, just, yeah. So that's your, and also something to point out, so you have two ways to charge. You have wireless charging, and then you also have standard conventional charging right there.
Okay.
And so if you want to charge an inReach or a phone or a camera or a radio, you can charge from this port right here.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. And, but it is, you know, basically that single port in, charge it through this one, and charge out through this as well.
Gotcha. I don't know if we're ready to transition or not, but I'm seeing the cord on here. The power cord here. Are all cords created equal?
Oh, that is another good question. No.
Okay.
Cords are not created equal. I would say that most manufacturers of cables do a decent job at the primary function of charging, okay? But you find that there's great variation in the performance of durability.
Okay.
Okay?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so that's why so many cables fray so easily. In the manufacturing process, there's a great variation in the quality of the basically the laser welding that we do when we connect the electronic parts together. There's a great variation in the quality of the manufacturing process. Okay. And so that's why you have some cables that will break because of electric reasons, because the manufacturing process was not very high quality. And then others, it's a mechanical construction issue. And so, yeah, I don't know, you know what? I'm probably the wrong person to talk to about this, because I'm so close to exactly how each cable is made, right, and the issues of most manufacturers, and I don't know how much people really care about this sort of thing. I care about it deeply because
right,
I want to have cables that are reliable. But, you know, I may be nerding out a little too much on this.
I love that you care about it deeply, and that gives me much confidence that you care about it so deeply.
Yeah, thank you. But one thing, okay, you know what? I'll tell you one thing that's my personal favorite about dark energy cables.
Okay.
We've noticed that one of the biggest impactors of quality in making a cable is not only do you want to have those laser welds just perfect so that you have, you know, obviously you just need the thing to function, okay? Like, you don't want to overthink it, but a big solution that Dark Energy has utilized in making very high quality, reliable cables is this metal jacket that we apply that goes around the parts. Not just this shell on the outside, but there's a metal shell on the inside that basically welds all of the key components together into one cohesive unit. And that has created an immense amount of durability for, look at us fat-fingered guys like jamming this thing into ports and whatnot into our phones. And so that has been one of the biggest things that have helped dark energy cables break away from the pack in durability.
Gotcha. And I mean, unique to your cables too. You've got the paracord on the exterior. So what's going on there?
Right. Yeah. So the paracord it's going to be a thing to help protect the cable as well as keep it from getting like all twisted and wound up, basically.
Oh, sure.
But its primary function is, from time to time, I need 30 feet of 550-pound test paracord, right? And if I need to, in a survival situation, I can open up the kern mantle and get out all these individual strands and do various, life-saving tasks, from building shelter to... It's so easy. It's so easy, guys. If you really were in a bad situation and you couldn't make fire, it's so easy to take one of these, unravel it, make a bow, and start a fire with it.
Wild.
Yeah. I've done it personally. It's really easy. I've never been in a situation where I haven't had a flint, steel, matches, lighter. I bring everything, okay? But if you really need to, you can. And there's been a lot of scenarios where we've had people reach back to us and say, you know what, I never thought I'd have to use it, right? It always begins like that. I never thought I'd have to use it. But it was really cool because I was looking around my vehicle and I found your cable. I'm like, oh my God, you're kidding me. I'm actually going to put the paracord on this cable to use, and unraveled it, used it to tie something. I mean, Nick, if you're listening out there, Nick called in and he was like, "Hey man, I was in the Australian bush, and my fender came off of my vehicle. I used this to tie it back on. We're in the middle of nowhere, and it was like, so hey, thanks a lot, And
That's awesome.
The utility is up for people to discover themselves, but for us, we know we're fans of paracord and its uses. And so it's just a convenient place to put it.
It's infinite uses. The cord version of duct tape,
Right. Exactly. Exactly. And so, but we sell cables without it. If you're of the ultralight, you're very weight sensitive. We completely understand that. We have the non-paracord cables, something like this.
Okay, gotcha.
And we also have paracord cables, and we have big plans for the future as well. A variation of charging cables that people will see in the future. There's innovation coming on that front, and I'm very excited to show that. I don't have anything to show today, but everyone can just.
I like that though. just like a little tease out there.
Yes, yes. New things are coming. A lot of. It's really cool because there's. We service the civilian outdoor market and the military market, and the cool thing about that is there's a lot of learnings that we can pull from the military to the outdoors, and vice versa. Yep. And the solar panel, it brought learnings from both of those together, and is what you see today.
The perfect transition, because I was just about to say, Garrett, should we address the solar panel in the room? It's kind of been like, if you're watching on YouTube, at least from like all this stuff is kind of interesting, but this is kind of like, the piece de resistance, at least something that like, if I was watching, I'd be having like, okay, I get what they're talking about here, but like I might have a couple question marks about the solar panel here, which, really cool. And I wanted to talk to you about that. So give us the rundown on this panel, maybe some of the stuff you learned along the way, the tech that went into it. It's incredibly lightweight. I couldn't believe when I picked it up. I was like, whoa, unbelievable.
Right, exactly. So charging in the backcountry, right? You have a battery like this. That's awesome. It gets you through a few days. If you're running lean, you could pull off a week, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But this product is your, few day I'd say 3 to 6 days, okay? That's your target. On 6 days, you're going to have to be judicious with how you use your power. You're going to have to, run a little bit leaner. But that's your 3 to 6 day solution. And our larger batteries are coming out, by the way. They are in the works. So next Hunt Expo, we'll have a hell of a lot more stuff to show you.
All right.
But yeah, so when you're in the backcountry, you need a way to recharge, okay? Current solar panels have a myriad of complexities and issues with them, all right? And that's why we set out to design Spectre. The problem with solar panels of today is they are heavy, they're brittle, they're made of silicon crystals, okay? So you'll hear things like monocrystalline, polycrystalline. Well, that's because they're crystals, okay? They're wafer-thin crystals that are then stacked on a heavy support structure to keep them from breaking, okay? Now, the problem with that is we're like running down mountains, man, running through rivers. We're super active. We're out here trying to get shit done.
And I mean, you got them packed in your backpack around other pieces of kit that might, you know what I mean, varying. It's not always going to be your puffy jacket that's leaning up against it.
Exactly. I know. You're gonna sit down to glass. I'm gonna lean my pack back. I'm gonna relax. And when you do that, any level of flex in traditional solar panels, you will crack those crystals. Okay. And immediately decrease your overall output by, depending on the type of crack, around 30% each time.
Wow.
Boom, boom, boom. So you really have to baby these things, okay? People don't fully understand that you really have to baby traditional solar panels. Okay? And, let's say, for example, a 14 watt. So, one more thing I want everyone to recognize, okay? The easiest way to think about solar panels is they're going to come in watts. Watts are a measure of power. Now, when you store power over time, that's a measure of energy, or we could say capacity, okay? So a battery is going to be in watt hours, and a solar panel is going to be in watts. All right? Pretty simple? Everyone staying with me? All right. And so...
I'm just going to nod.
Yeah, all right. Yeah. It's good. Yes. All right. And so... what were we talking about? So with solar panels, we needed to solve two problems. That durability, right? That fragile nature. So we needed to be able to bend it without breaking it. And we need to solve the weight problem, okay? That's why we made this, okay? I'm going to pick this up. So right now, this is actually in a frame, okay? And you'll kind of see that this is reminiscent of like a tent, frame, exoskeleton. And so here, I'm going to take this out so people can take a look at this and see what this solar panel really feels like. But this is very, very thin.
Yeah.
It's ultralight, okay? And it can flex. And it needs to be able to flex without breaking,
yes.
Okay? Well, otherwise, like, what's the point? You're just breaking this thing. You take it with you, unless you baby it, you're going to be breaking it, and then, what was the point of buying that thing in the first place?
It's not necessarily a disposable item.
Exactly. And so here's the back. They're waterproof layers. It's waterproof on both sides. And you'll notice that the perimeter is lined with these slits. These slits are cut to moly.
Okay.
And
sure.
So you can attach this to bags, like so.
I'm picking up what you're laying down.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
That's the purpose of that. And these larger shapes are for more traditional attachment points like carabiners, ropes, etc.
Okay.
All right? And so in the back, you have charging ports. This version is a USB-A. There's also a USB-A, USB-C. And this thing can roll, all right? And so when you put the stand on it, put this together right here, guys.
You mentioned, reminiscent of, like a tent's exoskeleton. I can say that went up much faster than any tent I've ever put up.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I designed this, so it better be quick for me. And so, this setup is going to be a fraction of a pound, whereas to have the exact same amount of power in a traditional solar panel would be upwards of 2 pounds.
Oh, wow. Incredible.
So you're shaving off a massive amount of weight for the same amount of power.
I mean, when you think about like what you can spend in the outdoor industry, hiking, hunting, whatever, to shave a pound.
Exactly.
Like a pound is significant.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. You're shaving at least a pound. And so this device charges this device, this size of solar panel, which is an 18-watt solar panel, charges a Poseidon Pro battery, which is 38 watt-hours, all right, or 10,200 milliamp hours, MAH. At full sun, it's going to charge this in around 4 hours.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah. If you have now we need to get into what full sun really means.
Right.
Okay? And so we'll get into the weeds here because this is what I mean, hey, this is the purpose, right, guys?
Yeah.
This is where people come to learn about, the best practices for using solar in the backcountry with batteries, okay? And so in ideal conditions, in 4 hours, you've charged this thing up, okay? In fact, you probably could do it faster. But I'm just going to give people some round numbers, though, all right? You could do it faster, but we'll just say 4 hours. And so this guy right here, you're looking at, 2 hours tops, maybe an hour and a half in the same scenario.
And that's one is the...
this is the Poseidon Nano.
The Nano, that's right.
Okay.
I knew that.
Nano, Poseidon Pro, and the battery that will be roughly, 3 times this size that's coming out later this year is Poseidon XL, or
Gotcha.
PXL for short.
Okay.
That comes out later this year. It is 100 watt-hours, the maximum for TSA-approved batteries, so you could fly with them, right? Maximum size. And that comes out later this year. And it's designed to charge your much larger devices like laptops, like all this gear we're filming on right here. You're going to bring things like that into the backcountry where you need a little bit more than just navigation and comms. You need computation, you need video, you need audio, things like that. You need more larger lighting sources. PXL is the source for you.
Gotcha.
Okay? And so this is tuned for this. We have a new product coming out. It's an 8-watt solar panel. It's tuned specifically for this.
Okay.
Okay?
So the 8-watt for the Nano and...
the 18-watt
okay.
for Poseidon Pro. Exactly. So you'll see that there's pairings between the solar panel and the battery that ideally they work together the best.
Gotcha.
All right? This is a super good all-around size because, and so you could charge your phone probably off this. Really good sun. Hour and a half, 2 hours, we'll say.
Oh, wow.
Okay?
Yeah.
Probably faster, but I'll give you some round numbers. And so now what's going to make that charging time longer? That's what people really want to know.
Mm-hmm.
What's going to make it longer is there's two things. Now, it's a bell curve, right? In the summer, you have the best sun, right? So in the summer, it's the best. In the winter, it's the worst, okay? And then the other thing is you also have latitude. This is the part that gets a little bit more complex for people, okay? Is latitude, right? So look at the world. And the equator is 0 degrees latitude. I think at Utah, we're at 20 degrees.
Okay.
Right? That's where we are right now, guys.
I'll trust you.
Okay. 20 degrees latitude. 20 degrees positive, okay?
Okay.
At 40 degrees, I think you're into Alaska, okay? And so as you go higher, the charging gets worse because the sun is less intense. You have less lumens, essentially. And so, or the lux. The lux is far less as you go higher towards the North Pole or the South Pole, right? And so you have to look at where are you latitude-wise and what season are you in? Those are the two questions you ask yourself to get an idea of how good is the sun, how intense is the sun, where I'm going to be when I need to use a solar panel, okay? Gotcha. So if you're going to be in the winter in the North Pole, that's the worst case scenario, okay?
Right.
But if you're going to be at the equator, if you're going to be in the Keys during the summer, bring a solar panel, okay?
Man, if you like to charge things solar, man, just go to the
exactly.
equator.
If you're going to be in Texas at any time of the year, probably use a solar panel, all right? And if you're and one other thing too is let's say you do go to let's say you have a sheep hunt. Mm-hmm. Well, you're going to need to have sun in order to use a solar panel. But one other thing that I really want people to understand is you really need to make sure that your solar panel is oriented perpendicular to the light coming in. Okay? So instead of just laying the solar panel out flat, I really want people to orient it towards the sun because it will make a dramatic difference in how much power you can pull from the solar panel.
If let's say you're in a scenario, maybe you're glassing from camp all day, or maybe it's just a camp day, but you want to charge some things up. Is that something where you'd want to have it perpendicular, but also move it with the sun? Like as the sun moves, like maybe adjust the solar panel so it's facing more into the sun then? Yeah,
the more you can, the higher power you're going to get from the solar panel. And so you need to basically, you want to watch the way that the sun tracks. In the wintertime right now in Utah, the sun tracks to the south. I mean, obviously everybody knows that, but it's going to track like this, whereas during the summer it tracks a little bit more overhead.
Gotcha. Right.
And so as a result, you want to change this strap that can be adjusted back here. You want to change the angle so that it faces to that. It's called normal to the sun or perpendicular to the sun. And let's say if it's laying flat versus it's lying angled towards the sun on that perpendicular axis, the change could be as much as 35% additional gain.
Wow.
From orienting it towards the sun.
That's significant.
It's significant. So I really recommend orienting it towards the sun. If you can't do that, then just do your best, Having something's better than nothing.
Yeah.
And a little bit of power in an emergency goes a long way. So, so that's my recommendation there. I wish I could field some questions from people about, usage of these things.
Man, I tell you what, just sitting here, Garrett, I mean, honestly, you field you fielded a lot of questions that I had, and you fielded a lot of questions I didn't know I had, but I'm glad you did.
Okay.
So I think you've done a phenomenal job.
Okay, fantastic.
And just with the why and best practices. I'm sure a lot of it to you seems like, oh, that's super intuitive.
It is, yes.
But for a person that's not like as close to it as you are, like tons of really great information. So.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Yeah, I really just want to be a resource for people. You can have, man, if you got the right things on you, geez, you know, like you're dressed appropriate, you got food, you have water, your weapon systems are dialed in, and you have power, like you're limitless.
Pretty unstoppable.
You're pretty unstoppable, man. And that's like, gosh, that's why.
Well, any one of those things in that system, if it goes, you know, like say, man, you got all these things, but your rain gear fails. That's a problem.
Right.
You know, you got all these things, but your comms or your navigation fails. That's a problem.
Yeah.
Particularly for me. I've said it before. I get lost a lot. My phone and GPS are my friend. Very critical for me.
Exactly.
You know?
Mission critical systems.
Yes.
Right. When mission critical systems go down, all of a sudden you're exposed to a lot of vulnerabilities that you wouldn't otherwise be. And so that's, you know, what's the purpose of Dark Energy being here, man? We want to minimize those mission critical scenarios from occurring at all costs. And so so the products that we make are going to reflect that. And so the PXL, dude, is just like a freaking it's like this. It's ultra lightweight, but it's just ready for battle. It's so tough.
Yeah.
It's so cool. You're going to love it.
I can't wait to see it.
And so we have much larger solar panels coming out. Let it be known that this uses a thin film technology. This thin film technology is completely different from the from the manufacturing process that crystal solar panels.
Okay.
It's a very different technology. There is a use case scenario for that technology, but in these like man-portable type backcountry scenarios, we don't think it's very well tuned to that environment, okay? On your house, on your roof, those crystalline cells do very well, okay?
I don't plan on taking those with me.
All right? Yeah, so I mean, like, you know, if you're not weight sensitive, then those are really good, okay? But if you are weight sensitive and you're durability sensitive, then these ultralight solar cells are perfect for you, okay? That's the difference, okay? I don't want to hate on, you know, on that technology because, like, in the non-weight sensitive scenario where, let's say, I need 400 watts of power, I need 800 watts of power for the generator that I'm bringing with me to camp. In that scenario, I do want to have crystal, monocrystalline cells.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay, does everyone understand that?
Yeah.
And so, Dark Energy will be releasing, you know, crystalline solar panels as well for that scenario. Okay.
Gotcha.
But I'm not carrying that, you know, and so I don't care if it weighs, 20, 40 pounds, right? But yeah, if I'm going to be packing something in, if it's going to be on a mule, if it's going to be on a horse, then, these pounds are starting to add up, and I'm going to be very, very particular about what I carry. And that's why you need a solar panel like Spectre it's called Spectre because Spectre's like a ghost, right?
Gotcha.
It's hardly there. All right? That's why it's called Spectre. All right? And so, anyway.
It makes perfect sense. Like you said, and I just so you know, like I never took it as like, oh, I can't believe they're using that tech. But it is application specific, right?
Exactly.
Like that tech exists and was developed for a specific application. Like the way you've done it here, like using, different tech, completely different application. Like there's just like, it's a different job. It's got a different job.
Exactly. Yeah. Like
in some ways the same job. You're providing power, but you're doing it, or your needs are different.
It's just a more elegant solution. That a lot of solar panels that entered the outdoor industry, they entered it from people who were not outdoorsmen. They're not hunters, and they didn't really care because they weren't the ones carrying it. They're just like, oh, here's some solar panels. Like, we're gonna package it in a small thing. Oh yeah, it's durable. Here you go. But
if you don't hunt and you don't backpack, like you
exactly.
don't know
the pain. You don't know the pain.
Right.
Exactly. And so it's just like, oh man, that's why these are so, I love them, because it's just like, yeah, man, anything that gets a job done that's like half the weight, a quarter of the weight, sign me up, right? And so, anyway, it's a really cool advancement coming from Dark Energy. Other cool things that you guys should know about, let's see, solar panels in various sizes for different tasks. Our generators are being tested now, and so that's an exciting development. Dark Energy was kind of, we're kind of on the down low for a little while there, but we've changed our strategies recently, and we're going to be releasing a lot of new product, and you guys are kind of seeing that, percolate out. And so exciting new things are coming, and we're going to ramp up fast. We already are. It's been exciting.
We've seen that, and it just sounds like, more to come, which, man, I appreciate you talking about all of this stuff and the glimpse into the future of all this exciting stuff to come. But what I love about all the stuff, number one, it works absolutely famously, and you can use each one of these things, well, I guess as a standalone, but also it can be part of a system too. Like, you might go on a hunt where you just need the Poseidon Pro. You might go on a hunt where you know what, I'm going to Poseidon Pro, but I might need a little extra juice. I've got the Nano. And I'm going to be back here for several days. I might be using a lot of power. I might carry both these things and the solar panel.
Yeah.
And then, then you're pretty well set. Okay, one more question. I thought we were wrapping, and then I have one more question. So, how do the things connect to the solar panel real quick?
Okay, yeah. So, I'm going to turn this around so people can get a better idea. So, how this is going to work. And also, if people want to buy, so you have a solar panel, and then you have an accessories kit, which is basically everything that you see on the back here, along with some stakes.
Gotcha.
To stake this thing down, because it's so lightweight. If it's windy out, you want to make sure this thing doesn't fly away.
That does make sense.
This right here, this is a waterproof bag. And so you can also get this guy. And what these straps are doing, so this guy will attach to the back here.
Gotcha.
And then you can stick whatever battery you're charging, run a cable from this port to the battery you're charging. You want to keep the target device that's being charged out of the sun.
Oh, interesting.
Okay? Out of the sun. Because everybody knows how quickly sun hits a device. Man, heats that thing up, device dies.
Does make sense. Okay.
So it always needs to be in the shade. Remember that, okay? Solar is awesome, but things can get hot, okay? So we want to stop your phone from overheating, all right? You can do that in a couple ways. If you want to just run that to shove that down here in the shade, that usually is totally fine.
Yeah.
For a little bit more of an elegance situation, elegance solution, we have bags, okay? Inside here, opens up like so. This is full of random gear. 2 zippered pockets, and you'd run a charging cable You could run a charging cable directly to your battery inside here.
Gotcha.
And it would charge like so. And so super simple. I mean, on this right here, this is a little sticker, but there's once you pull this off, there's a sensor that will detect the intensity of the light coming into the solar panel. Over here, it's covered with a little bit of film. These are just brand new out of the box, but there's 4 LEDs. If you're at 1 LED, it's pretty weak sun out. Okay, you might be at dusk on a winter day, but if you're in Texas at noon in the summertime, you're going to read 4 bars right here. You're going to be charging really fast. Okay, and that's in those scenarios when you have 4 bars. That's when you're going to charge a Poseidon Pro in, we'll say, 3.5, 4 hours. Charge your phone in an hour and a half, charge this guy in an hour and a half. It's in that scenario when you're going to get those charging speeds. But you can very easily get to a day in the wintertime that's going to double that, okay? And you're going to need 8 hours to charge a Poseidon Pro fully, okay? The good news is, whether it's cold or hot, once you charge this thing up, it's going to hold that charge for, 8+ years.
Right.
And so that's good news. So, hey, when the sun shines, make hay, all right? That's a thing that people need to start to realize is, hey, if it's sunny out and you got a solar panel, that's an opportunity to create power.
Well, and this is light enough to keep with you while you hunt that you could be like, we're going to be on this glassing knob for a few hours. Heck, maybe it's noon and we're taking a nap. Boom, I'm going to gas up my stuff and, like I said, make hay while the sun shines, literally.
Yeah, use that hour,
and
exactly.
You'll get...
Yeah, and if you really want to, like, I don't know, most of the packs, most of the hunting packs, I mean, seriously, since you're changing angle all the time, I don't know if I'd recommend putting this on the back of your pack if you're constantly changing angle all the time. But if you are somebody who's a backpacker who's going to be heading a certain direction for a while, you could totally throw that on the back of a pack. And it'll, charge up for a long time, okay? If you're heading into the sun, it's a different story. But, wherever you can get sun, this thing will generate power for you. And it's up to you to figure out how you want to do that. You can throw that on top of a tent. You could throw it up on vehicles. I've put them in trees, put them on bushes, and also just use this whole stand right here.
Sure.
And so, and it's, it's worked out pretty well so far, and anyone who's used these, we're open to feedback too. We want to master this technology. We want to master using these flexible solar panels in the backcountry because obviously they're super new, and so there's a lot of learnings to be had, and we're going to be continuing to master and improve these, iterate time and time again, and. They've been working super well for us. And for those listening and watching on hunts, what's up, buddy? You're going to love it. Put it to the test. And, come back and let us know how it goes. And we'd love to hear more about people's experiences with using this technology in the backcountry.
Awesome, Garrett. Well, hey, if a person is interested in checking this stuff out, finding out more, which I don't know what more we could actually find out after this conversation. It's been incredibly informative.
Sorry, it's too much, guys. Sorry.
No, super informative and super insightful. Like, where should a person go to do that?
Super simple. Darkenergy.com. Go there, check out our website, learn about the products. You can buy there. You can buy on a ton of different places as well.
Cool, man. No, I appreciate this conversation. Like I said, super informative, super insightful. Like you said, a little power goes a long way when you need it. We have a lot of power here to go a long way, so folks out there can go a long way into the backcountry and have confidence that they're going to have the power that they need for their devices to communicate, to stay safe, to navigate, all the things that you might need to do. Take that snapshot. It's kind of like that part of Tommy Boy. Anything you need to keep cold, anything you need to power. Like I said, Garrett, I appreciate it. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Hopefully you enjoyed this one as much as I did. Power up.
All right, guys.
We'll catch you on the next one.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Garrett.
it.
There you have it, folks. Thank you very much for listening. As usual, give this video a like if you liked it, comment something below, and give us a subscribe to the Vortex Nation podcast channel. It would mean a lot to us. Also, why don't you give us a follow over on Instagram while you're at it, at Vortex Nation Podcast. We'd love to hear from you over there, and we'll keep you updated with all kinds of cool photos and videos from our adventures that we do here. Otherwise, we will see you on the next one. Thank you again. Happy hunting and shooting, everybody. Have a good one.